Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici. Welcome, my friends. My name is Vincenzo, and welcome to my channel once again, Fountain Pen Therapy. Well, the therapy I have for you today is yet another Neapolitan master, part of my Neapolitan Master series. Another company that's seen a resurgence in the last couple of years, and I would say thank goodness for the fountain pen community. It's the company by the name of Gioia Pens. It's a young brand, if you will, born in Naples in 2014. It is the brainchild of a gentleman by the name of Mr. Fabio Servasio, an Italian craftsman with more than 20 years of experience in pen production. And I would say that with his genius and his Neapolitan flair and imagination was born Gioia Writing Emotion. Now, Gioia Pen Italia produces fountain pens, roller balls, and ballpoints, all turned by hand from bars of resin and other materials such as ebonite and celluloid. And although it was founded in 2014, as I mentioned earlier, it is only really, about 2020, I would say, that Gioia Pen Italia decided to bring itself to the attention of the whole world. There are three models that I like, and I own one model from each model, if you will. It's the Liberty Island, the Alleria, and the Partenope. Partenope is among my favorite pens, and we will have a chance to review that in due course. Today, however, I have for you the other model, which is the Alleria model, specifically the Mare Chiaro Clear Sea model. A fountain pen handmade from just beautiful resin, and the emotion it evokes is that of the clear and quiet sea of a cool summer day on the Neapolitan coast. So stay tuned. We'll come back with a brief unboxing, a size comparison. We'll take a look at the pen both inside and out, and as usual, we will finish with a writing sample, and I'll give you my thoughts on the pen, tell you what I like and what I don't like about it. So just stay tuned, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. Back with the just a brief unboxing. As you could see, the pen comes in in this box right here. The gold embossing of the logo Gioia brand name, Writing Emotions. The box is cardboard. When you open up the packaging, it reveals, first of all, you have just a booklet with some brief descriptions, addresses, international warranties. Then the interior box is one that we've seen before. Mayora has had a similar packaging, and it's, again, the influence is definitely Delta. And when you open up the elastic bands and take off the top, it reveals the pen. It's snugged away, in a styrofoam or rubberish material, so it's well protected, if you will. And that's my gorgeous pen. So let's put aside the box, and let's take a closer look at the pen itself. As you can see, it's a it's a good sized pen. It has embossed on the side Gioia Alleria, which is the model, and also I think you can see that it's a 037, so they're all numbered. The trimmings that you see here are all rhodium. Nice clip, solid but functional. Okay, very solid, classic design, if you will. Now, I want you to take a look at the closer look at the resin. Let me just open up more lighting here so that you could appreciate it a little bit more. The resin is just very, very, very nice. It's got different shades and different sheens. The chatoyancy of the resin is spectacular, and as the name, it evokes the sea. where, you know, in the sea, in the waves, you have different shadings depending on how the sun shines. So just beautiful. Very, very nice. Very solid material. You can see it's handcrafted, and it's just to perfection. Okay, and with these types of resins, with the different chatoyancy, every pen is different. You know, you don't have one pen that's similar to the other. It's all handmade. So that's the exterior. Now let's look at inside. First and foremost, the cap. Well, the cap is just very classical, flat. Nothing in particular. This pen never dries, so that means that the interior was well done. Okay, very well done. And one other thing that I want you to notice is that the screwing mechanism is not immediately at the top. It's found way in there. When you look at the pen, normally you would see the screwing mechanism around at this spot here. But this one, it's at the tip. So when the pen goes in and gets screwed in tightly, it stays wet. It doesn't dry up. That's one of the one of the advantages of having it. The disadvantage of having it there, and it's really maybe something that some people, and I would say could be seen as a disadvantage or something that I don't like, is when the screwing mechanism is at the end there, when you ink your pen, the ink has a tendency to stay in the grooves. If it was on top here, the chances are you would avoid it. But when it's at the bottom, you can't avoid it. It's in the ink. And if you don't clean it properly, you could have some residue of ink. And when you go in right, well, your fingers will get all inked up. So that, you know, it's an advantage and a disadvantage, if you will. Okay. As far as the nib is concerned, they use Gioia nibs, but they also have their brand name on it. You can see the Gioia and the Gioia logo. As usual, this is a stub for me. I don't use fine. I hate fine. Extra fine, forget about it. Medium, I can tolerate. Bold, I can live with as well. But if I have a choice, I always definitely go with a stub, either a 1.1 or a 1.5. And this one here, if my eyesight is a 1.1. Okay, so that's now in terms of the filling mechanism, this is not a converter. There is a pump here, so you turn it from the outside and turn it in, turn it out. You don't have to open it up. You don't have to deal with a converter, but again, that could be an advantage or a disadvantage. I don't like it because I'd like to see my converter and like to see how filled it is. If it isn't filled, I have no idea here if I'm running low on ink until the pen doesn't write it anymore. Also cleaning, I don't see what I'm cleaning, if you will, when I have an interior converter. I can remove the converter, clean the pen better. Here I'm guessing, you know, and you keep cleaning until you don't see any residue of ink. But so on the other hand, you don't have to deal with unscrewing it. You don't have to deal with a converter. It's all in there, and you put the pen in. You turn it around, fill up the mechanism, wipe it clean, and you're all set to go. So you could see it as an advantage or a disadvantage, if you will. So that's the pen. Just to me, it is a beautiful, hefty pen. Now, if I could put that there, let's do a brief size comparison. Now, I've taken out for you a series of quite different pens. Oh, this one's upside down. Here we go. So put my Alleria at the center. You could see that it's amongst the biggest one. I mean, the Easterbrook, this is the Easterbrook Grande, or the oversized, beats it. So does my oversized Collier Edison pen, but not by much. Not by much. Compared to my Franklin Christoph. I think this is a Model 19. You can tell it's much bigger. This is my Japanese Tacha. I mean, in terms of it's smaller, and in terms of girth, it's also smaller. This is a Wancher. Nice size. Similar, but again, it's nothing compared. And this is my Conklin Blue, Conklin All-American. And this is a hefty pen in terms of heft. But you can see that in relation to these different types of sizes that I've provided for you, I'm really happy with the size of my Alleria, because I like hefty and large pens, and this is definitely one of them. Now, in terms of whether or not it posts, it does post. It's got a nice groove there. It has a tendency to be, well, it is weighted in the backside here, needless to say. But you know what? Again, it's a very comfortable back weight. Very comfortable back weight. So there's no problem with posting this pen. Quite the contrary. I don't like to do it because I always feel that when I'm posting, I may be compromising a little bit or scratching the resin. But, I don't post my pens, generally speaking. But those of you who do wish to post very securely, very nicely, and you can line up the nib with the clip, and it's a very, very comfortable posting. So that's okay. So that's the pen. Now for my writing sample. First of all, let's look at the ink. The ink that I've used today is KWZ ink, handmade fountain pen ink. The color is gum and berry. I'll see whether or not I get the actual purple out of my pen, because it was previously inked blue. So there's a good chance that you might see a little more blue than I would have wanted. But this ink is just again, one of the more prized inks that I have. I have all kinds of colors. And this gum and berry, like most KWZ inks, it smells nice. In fact, it smells like gum or vanilla, if you will. Most of the inks that come out of these bottles have this really, really vanilla-ish smell. So that's a nice touch, if you will, for an ink. Now, in terms of how the ink swatches, well, let me take out for you a swatch. This is my swatches of various KWZ inks, and here you'll see the gum and berry. So the swatch, it's a purple. It has some shading, no shimmer, but again, a very nice violet or purple color. And these are all the other amongst my KWZ swatches. Take out my Tomoe River notebook, if you will, and we will do our writing sample accordingly. Now, let's just, first of all, let's just make sure that it's violet and not blue that comes out of this pen. So it's the Gioia Alleria. Oh, it's pretty good. Mare Chiaro. And as far as the nib is concerned, it's a Jowo number 6 nib, stub, 1.1. The ink that we are using today is the KWZ Gumberry, or Gumberry. And it's fascinating because as I write, I can actually smell the vanilla, the sugar vanilla out of this ink. It's a really, really nice touch, I've got to tell you. Now, in terms of the nib, what I noticed is there's a little bit of scratchiness right there on the downside. So it probably needs a little bit of tuning, and I'll explain what it is in a moment. In terms of you can see that the downstrokes are thick and the side strokes are thin, and that's the line variation for the beginners that stub pens give you. They also give you a sort of a variation in the color. I'm not sure if the camera is picking it up, but it's a little more, it's lighter at the top and darker at the bottom. You can see some of that also in the lettering, which is something you won't get if you use a fine nib or an extra fine nib, in my estimation. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy stub pens. So that's, now in terms of smoothness, what's missing, I think, is the I'm not sure, let me just try to see if I could focus, but the twines are a little bit offset, so that needs to be corrected because they're not perfectly aligned. And what I mean by perfectly, and they've got to be perfect, it's hard for me to show you on the fingers, but if they're not, if one is over or one is under, then it gives you that scratchiness. So the camera is not picking it up, unfortunately, but it's got to be fixed. I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to see what I can do about it. But otherwise, I can't really complain. Out of the box, I really can't complain. But like I said, there is a little bit of that scratchiness. But it is consistent. There's no skipping, so I can't really complain. In terms of rating the pen, let's rate the pen itself. Because of the problems I foresee that this screwing mechanism at the bottom, when I put that in an ink bottle, it's going to stain. And because I can't see, there's no window, I can't see the level of ink, I give this a 9.2. Otherwise, easily a 9.4, because in terms of construction and quality and the surety of the resin, it's at least a 9.2. In terms of the nib, as I mentioned, because I think it needs a little bit of tuning, but keep in mind, this is factory. It comes right out of the factory, so I'm going to give it like an 8.9. And when I work with it, it's going to be easy, a 9.4. Okay? Now, in terms of value, my recollection is that I paid this pen approximately $200 Canadian. So for me, that is excellent value, especially for a pen of this size, of this quality. $200 Canadian, it's a steal. Well, that's it for me. That's my review. I hope you enjoyed it, and please subscribe and keep watching my Neapolitan Master Series. I've got several videos that are coming up that I'm sure you will enjoy, and if you have any comments, any questions, please don't hesitate. And I wish you all buonasera, buongiorno, good evening, good night, good day. See you next time.